Francois Truffaut's Day for Night is my favorite out of his filmography. It's also one of my favorite films of all time. Now, I can admit I'm a little biased here as an aspiring filmmaker. This film just gets it. As someone who's worked on many low-budget features, this is every single struggle you go through in trying to make a movie. There's a lot of films about the art of making a film. 8½, American Movie, Ed Wood, F for Fake. And they're all great for different reasons. But the reason that Day for Night stands out for me is that, well, it's really about the process more than it is about some kind of artistic statement, as 8½, does, where it's about the artist and their life reflecting each other. Fellini wanted to go back and forth between fantasy and reality and kind of capture any kind of artistic process and what the artist goes through. I don't really think that's what Day for Night is about. Day for Night's really about the work, and Truffaut captures the work better, I think, than anyone ever has in cinema history. Day for Night is a set of cinematic techniques used to simulate a night scene while filming in daylight. It is often employed when it is too difficult or expensive to actually shoot something during nighttime. The reason I think Truffaut picked this as a title is to reflect that movies are ultimately a manipulation. They're a lie. They're a cheat. They're your twisting of reality to present something. I mean, real life feels like a continuous shot. I mean, there's edits when we blink and so on, but for the most part, life doesn't really have the controlled feeling of a movie. It doesn't have the manipulation. It doesn't have the magic trick effect, where this is here, and I'm only showing you what I want to show you for the story. Now, outside of a movie like Ed Wood, which is about a guy who's a terrible filmmaker doing it for the love of it, not really for the money, this is a guy genuinely making a good film. The movie they're shooting within this film looks really good and well done. There might be a little bit of an exaggeration here, some melodrama with how the crew and the actors respond to each other. You know, there's affairs in this movie, there's death. But that's all done to kind of make the point that you have to control these things. You know, a film set is controlling chaos. It's keeping things from going off the rails. It also shows you the negatives when you have to cut things, when you can't keep things that you had in your mind that you wanted to do. You have to change things, change the angles, change a line of dialogue. But it also captures those wonderful moments when everything goes right, when the actors, the set designers, the editor, and you all come together to make something truly wonderful. And that's a really wonderful feeling to have. Steven Spielberg said of Truffaut that what makes him so wonderful is his simple nature, that he doesn't overcomplicate things, that he doesn't navel gaze. He is what his films are. He is Jules from Jules and Jim. What I love about that is that I find a lot of people, in particular to today, and a lot of YouTube analysis videos, which I'm not knocking, but they seem to add all this depth and complexity that I don't think is actually there from a lot of these filmmakers. Movies themselves, like a lot of art, is about instinct. It's about feeling. It's about trusting those instincts and being confident in them and going off these abstract things in your mind and trying to make them reality. I think everyone, when a great movie comes out, likes to think that there was all this thought put behind every little detail, but I don't think that's always true. That's certainly true for some films, but for Truffaut, I think he just experienced it and captured it perfectly. He's a wonderful human being, so his films are wonderful. And what could be better than that? Now, this might not be his best film if we're being objective here, but it's my favorite because I find it to be his most entertaining, most charming, and elegant movie, and I think in many ways it captures the man more than any of his other works. And this film really isn't about the artist, it's about the worker, because I know a lot of people in my life, and I'm sure you've met them too, where they want to be a musician, they want to be a painter, they want to be a filmmaker, they want to do all sorts of things, and they never do anything with it. They just talk about it all the time. This film shows that it is work, it is making compromises, it is getting over your ego and having to work with others, and you better get damn good people to collaborate with you because you need them to get across the finish line. Many times in this movie, Truffaut, playing a version of himself, just gets other people to handle tense situations. He doesn't directly do everything, he just answers a lot of questions. At its best, Day for Night has these wonderful dream sequences where Truffaut is sleeping and thinking about himself as a little boy, going to get stills from Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. It's in this moment that we realize Truffaut dreams films, that he breathes and lives film, and that even in his dreams, it's black and white. Because movies are that way. They can be black and white. They can be that simple, the way that we wish life could be so simple, because life is so complicated. But in the world of cinema, in the hands of the director, the world can be black and white. It can be the way you want it to be. It can be controlled. You can have the things you want. Even if the set that you're working in is chaotic and has all the struggles of humanity, the film doesn't have to have that. Because even if you're really great technically at making a movie, and you have all of that figured out before you go in, you did a great job with pre-production, principal photography went really well, you have a great cinematography, you have a great editor, you still have to deal with personalities. Somebody being drunk while you're filming a scene, people having affairs with each other, somebody somebody going through a crisis. All of these things can happen when you're making something, and you have to not only be a manager of a set, you have to be a manager of people. And there's only so much leverage you're going to have as a filmmaker depending on the success you have. Truffaut is showing us that it's not necessarily about artistic expression. It's not always about making some beautiful statement. It's not always about going to some next level. It's sometimes just about the process. It's about doing the work. And if you can do the work, you can keep yourself focused, you can get through the struggles, you can result in something that ultimately is worthwhile and does transcend you and affect an audience in a way that you probably didn't perceive when you were first making the film. There's these wonderful montages in this film that show editing and when you move from a different location and all sorts of great things like that. And they show you how many takes you have to get sometimes to get something and just go over and over and over again. Or when you have to make a lot of major compromises. Particularly at the end of the film, one of the last things they shoot, they can't do it the way they wanted to because of an offset accident. So they have to make a compromise and change the shot. But it results in something that's much more interesting. And I don't think a lot of people get this about movies who haven't ever done it. And I don't blame anyone for this, but I think they assume that everything's figured out before you go into it. And that's not really how it works. Lighting is going to change. You have to work around it. The colors, the costumes, everything involved with making a movie is in a constant state of change, and you're always having to adjust to it and be pragmatic. I don't love this movie because I'm just some guy who wants to make movies like this. I don't love it just because it's a great film in itself, which it is. I love this movie because I think more so than any other film, it shows you what it's like to make a movie. Now, I would highly recommend F for Fake if you want someone to show you how to manipulate people through the process of editing and film or any kind of art. And Orson Welles does a perfect job of explaining it and actually doing it to you as an audience member. But Truffaut's taking more of an objective look at these things, and that's what's kind of great about it. It's almost a documentary-esque approach to this movie. And in that document of this film that he's making within this film, this meta approach, him playing a version of himself, this film within a film, what we get is a work of art, is something beautiful, is something that impacts us because it's so true, and it's so true in universal ways, not only about the human condition and working with other people, but in just being anyone who does any kind of process, any kind of entrepreneur, any kind of work, anything, being a manager. And in that capturing, he inspires me and those who watch this film, all of us, to do better, to do this. Because it is worth it. Truffaut makes his black and white dreams into a reality, and he gives us all the chance to dream with him. He's ultimately saying, you can make your dreams come true. Even if that sounds a little ridiculous and sentimental, I believe in it. So don't be scared of your dreams. Don't fight them. Do what you can, accept the reality of the situation, be pragmatic, and make your dream a reality. I believe in you. Truffaut believes in you. And Day for Night is a wonderful piece of cinema that I highly recommend, and it will remain always one of my favorite films of all time. Thanks for watching.